We begin this tale with a young 4-year-old boy running as fast as he could to survive, the glares, to survive the beatings. It was a night of celebration in Konoha. It was the day where the third Hokage gave his life to save the Leaf Village, and the day where the fourth nearly died with his wife. They fought alongside the third. Unfortunately, the third didn't come out of it. However, the fourth and his children did, thanks to the third Hokage, sealing the tailed beast inside another child. That child would be known as Naruto. Just Naruto, as he would call himself. Anyway, Naruto was running. He was running away from the people who wanted him dead. From the people who wanted to finish what the third had started 4 years ago. They wanted Naruto, the demon fox, dead. None of them saw Naruto as a human, nor did Naruto himself. Unfortunately, Naruto couldn't run. His small, frail body, malnourished, and weak, wasn't able to go far. Naruto, in the end, just accepted it and started taking the beatings. He just took them. He took all the pain, all the despair, and all the neglect he received. Naruto didn't fight back at all. In fact, he wanted to die. Naruto's psyche, mentality, it was not of a 4-year-old. It was of a suicidal maniac. Naruto liked the beatings at this point. It's been a few days. Naruto hadn't returned home. His parents, of course, hadn't realized. Of course, his parents being Minato and Kushina. His two siblings, Menma and Naruto. His other, they're triplets, just saying. Of course, they noticed. However, they were happy. Now, they would get even more attention. Their parents barely gave Naruto any attention, but now that he was gone, they would get it all. Naruto was the container of the Kyuubi. However, because the chakra was too dense, or as many would say, too big or too strong for a small child like Naruto, being the weakest out of the three, since he was the last one, the youngest one, and his body was much weaker than the rest. He couldn't contain the full-tailed beast, so Hiruzen decided that it would be best if Naruto received half of it, and the other half would be split into two, and the other two siblings would receive a quarter of the 9-tailed beast. The strongest tailed beast among the 9. Unfortunately, Naruto had it the roughest. People thought that only he had the 9 tails, or as many said, he had the soul of it, and the chakra was sealed into his siblings. However, that is impossible, even for the Soul Reaper, because the chakra would just reunite with the soul. This is something that Hiruzen knew, and so he purposefully made it so that the chakra and the soul would remain within Naruto, so Naruto wouldn't absorb more chakra from his siblings, and in the process potentially killing them. Anyway, Naruto, who now returned home after 5 days of not being home, he had to drink his own blood to survive. Naruto didn't find his way home. He was left in a dark alley, in a dark place, somewhere far from his home, somewhere he didn't know, somewhere he was unfamiliar with. This was Naruto's breaking point. Naruto just walked in, with infected wounds and bloodied arm, broken ribs. His whole body was on the verge of collapsing. However, Naruto just walked up into his small room in the attic. It wasn't even a room. It was just a blanket and the cold floor. Naruto had the first aid box, which he stole from his parents. They hadn't noticed because they had so many. Since they were ninjas after all. They had a lot of first aid boxes, and they were training their children. Naruto, unfortunately, wasn't one of their children. Naruto didn't consider himself as part of the family, believing that what the villagers said, he was a demon. He didn't deserve to live. The Hokage was only keeping him because he didn't want him to rampage within the village again. Naruto perfectly knew who they were talking about, the nine-tailed fox, and Naruto didn't care at this point. He was pretty much lost. He lost himself 2 years ago when the first beatings began. Kushina saw the blood marks on the ground. At first she thought that one of her children, one of them out of the two, were hurt. However, she soon realized that they were just fine. And she realized who it was. It was that damn Naruto. She went up and started shouting at him while he was bandaging himself up. She said how reckless he was. She claimed, Naruto didn't really say anything. Once she asked, how did he do this? How did he get hurt? Naruto then, realized his so-called mother was getting angry. She slapped him over and over again until he started talking. Naruto then said he got into a fight with an animal. In the end, Kushina bought it and left the room, Naruto being in pain again, but at this point he was used to it. Naruto. A few years passed, and Menma and Naruto were getting much stronger. Of course, Naruto remained behind and just watched as his father would teach, so-called father, would teach them. The two were prodigies, which made it seem like they were the children of prophecy. Yes, here, the prophecy actually contained two children. One, of course, being Menma in Minato's eyes, and Kushina's and Jiraiya's. Menma, and the other being Naruto. Of course, they trained the two like crazy, believing that they were the two chosen ones by the gods. But of course, that was completely wrong. One of them was Naruto, as we all know. However, the other one is still unknown to us, and we will find out who he or she is in the future. However, for now, Naruto realized that he needed to get stronger. He needed to survive if he wanted to become someone who had freedom. However, his shackles were holding him back. Naruto knew that he was a demon. He believed it. And so he decided not to train until he was 8. He began training and realized that no one liked him in the academy. He always got beaten on a daily basis. He wouldn't return home for weeks, days, weeks, even months. No one really noticed. There were only a few people who liked him. Not even more than 5, pretty much. It was pretty much only Kakashi, Iruka, and 2 other people, Ayame and Teuchi, or how Naruto calls him. Ayame acted more as an older sister to Naruto, while Teuchi became more like a brother, more like a father to him. Anyway, they realized that Naruto didn't do anything wrong and was still being treated badly. In the end, they decided to help Naruto without hesitation. At first, Naruto was skeptical. He thought that they were just trying to get his trust and in the end backstab him like most of the villagers. However, they proved him wrong. Naruto put his full trust in them. He did not believe for 1 second that they would ever backstab him. Anyway, we continue. Naruto was the dead last in his class. He hadn't been home for a while. He only would come to the academy each day with a new wound Of course, Yuriko didn't notice this. At first, he was angry at the Hokage. However, he soon realized that the Hokage had nothing to do with this. Even if the Hokage tried, he couldn't stop the villagers. He realized how much the villagers hated Naruto, and in the end, after school, he always asked Naruto to remain back, as much as he can, hold Naruto back. However, eventually he would have to go home, and even Naruto would. But Naruto would never make it home. He would make it a few steps outside near his home, but then in the end, the villagers would arrive to beat him, to give him his daily dose of remembrance of how he's a beast. Naruto then finally understood that his life meant nothing to the people. His existence was just a nuisance. In the end, Naruto standing on top of the third Hokage's stone face. He realized that the third Hokage made a mistake in allowing him to live. In fact, the third should have killed Naruto when he sealed the Nine Tails inside of him. So, the Nine Tails would never be able to put fear in the people. However, that was impossible. Nine Tails is impossible to kill. Any tail beast is impossible to kill, since they would just regain their strength after a few years. Anyway, Naruto was standing on top of it, realizing how much of a nuisance it was. Naruto was about to jump. However, as he did, Naruto was stopped. It was someone that he knew. Someone that he would have never thought of, seeing again, since the last time he saw her was a few weeks ago. He hasn't been attending the academy much, but it was Satsuki Uchiha. In this story, Sasuke will be a female. Unfortunately, I know some people will be like, nah, this guy's an idiot. But anyway, we move. Satsuki always knew the pain that Naruto went through, as the Uchiha massacre still happened as per normal. She could see the pain in Naruto's eyes. Naruto lost all color in his hair. He no longer looked like the Naruto everyone knew. She remembered Naruto when he was a kid. She remembered him always having wounds on his body, but always having a smile. In the end, that smile vanished. The picture of Naruto, or the picture in her mind of that of who Naruto was, shattered. Naruto now had white hair. A little reference to Tokyo Ghoul. After all, the torture that Kaneki went through made him lose all color in his hair, and his hair died out pretty much. Naruto, having white hair, looked at Satsuki with his dull blue eyes. They no longer had that shine in them like they once did. Naruto then just asked, why? That was the only thing that he said. Satsuki just said, I know what you're feeling. I felt it too. I didn't want to live anymore. There was nothing for me to live for. But I believe that there must be a reason why all these things are happening, right? Of course, Naruto at first was kind of baffled, but then understood that Satsuki must have gone through the same pain, as her onyx black eyes were much darker than his own. She had seen her own parents die. However, she at least had the love of a family, something that Naruto didn't have. Of course, Naruto's heart was already broken. Satsuki's was too. However, they found a friend each other. They found a friend within each other, and ever since, Naruto has been hanging out with her. However, the beatings would never stop. In fact, Naruto became he, instead of killing himself, committing suicide, something that would hurt Satsuki, he decided to go into something more interesting in his eyes, something that would relieve his stress, the pain, despair, sorrow that he felt. He would cut himself. Naruto had moved out at this point, of course with the help of his older brother, Kakashi. Kakashi had lost all hope in the Hokage and realized that the Hokage did not care, and so he bought an apartment for Naruto, always providing for him. Of course, well, Kakashi didn't tell the Hokage, and the Hokage hadn't noticed. Same as his wife and children. In the end, Naruto started living on his own, and Satsuki would visit him the most out of everyone. Naruto had found someone else in the village that truly loved him, and that was Satsuki, his friend, his only friend. Of course, the Hokage, the third Hokage, made Minato promise that he should treat Naruto just as he would treat anyone else. However, that promise was broken years ago. Naruto is now 12. It's been a few years. Something that no one knows is that Naruto is truly a prodigy. Naruto has a photographic memory, also a Kekkei where, which allows him to perform any jutsu after seeing the hand seals. Of course, Naruto at first didn't know how to use this Kekkei, however, it just came to him. Naruto, in the end, was already pretty much Jonin level at this point, as Kakashi would always show him hand sense to different jutsus, which now Naruto knew at least 250 of out of the 1,000 that Kakashi knew. Naruto and Kakashi were the best of friends. You could call them the closest people. You could call Kakashi the closest person to him. But Naruto keeps his loved ones closer than anything else. Naruto had a broken heart. However, whenever he's around the people he loved, he would always have a smile on his face. A smile that no one saw. A smile that hid many things, many secrets being hidden behind that smile. But no one knew about them, not even Satsuki. Of course, Naruto and Satsuki were put in the same team, as Naruto barely passed. Barely. Of course, barely in quotation marks, because Iruka truly knows the strength that Naruto holds. Anywho, Naruto was just waiting until the Banshee, or Sakura, started screaming at him for sleeping and not waiting for their sensei. Naruto just looked at her and asked why should I care. Of course, then two other voices came in, both being his siblings, so-called family, or part of his so-called family. Of course, they said, "Hey Naruto, why aren't you coming home? We kinda miss you." Of course, being sarcastic as ever, Naruto just glared at them. They kinda flinched, but then realized that they are stronger than him. In the sense, they said, "You useless piece of crap. Why do you even bother? Why don't you just kill yourself?" Of course, Naruto then looked at them with eyes that they haven't seen. He gave them a smile, and this was a genuine smile. And he said, "Well, I tried, and I wish I didn't fail. I guess I am a failure. I fail even at trying to end my own existence," Naruto said, as he trailed off, jumping out the window. Satsuki, of course, followed along, as Sakura kinda felt bad for Naruto, as she found out that Naruto did truly try to end himself. However, she then went back to talking to her teammates. Naruto was on the roof, and Kakashi knew that Naruto would be on the roof, as he saw him while he was coming in. Satsuki just was sitting next to him, of course, telling Naruto that it was fine. However, Naruto inside was truly broken. No one really knew, other than his closest people. However, even they don't know how truly broken Naruto was. Naruto already shattered a long time ago. Anyway, of course, the rest of the team came to the roof, and Naruto pretty much frowned as he saw his two siblings on the roof. Of course, Kakashi said to introduce themselves, and he already knew two of the people, being Satsuki and Naruto. Of course, Sakura asked for an example, as Kakashi gave it to her, stating his name, his hobbies, his hobbies, likes, dislikes, and dreams. Of course, being very vague about them. Sakura then went on to say that she wants to pretty much the same thing as in the original. Sakura was looking at Sasuke, instead she looked at Menma. Menma then said that he wants to become Hokage, an even greater Hokage than his own father. Of course, boasting about him being the son of the fourth Hokage, and said that he wants to end the existence of a certain demon. Of course, then Naruto went. Her dream was pretty similar, just that it was a little bit different. She wanted to be the strongest kunoichi, not the Hokage, but she said that she wanted to rival all the Kages, even if not being one. Of course, their likes were pretty much exactly the same. Their dislikes being a certain demon, which of course Kakashi wanted to, well, tried his best in keeping his anger in and killing intent. Tried is, the key word, as some slipped out, which then Naruto coughed and Kakashi realized. Of course, the team sweat dropped. Of course, other than Naruto and Satsuki. Anyways, Satsuki went next. Her dreams were a bit different from Sasuke's in the original. She wanted answers. She wasn't after revenge, as her true dream, was to actually look after her closest one and be by his side forever. Of course, being a bit similar to Sakura's, she kind of blushed as looking at Naruto, of course. With Kakashi being the older brother he is to them, he just laughed and chuckled a bit, not laughed. Anyways, Naruto went next. Naruto stated his name, his likes and dislikes first. My name is Naruto, just Naruto. My likes, I don't have many, other than spending time with the people I like. My dislikes, don't have many either, which made a few people raise an eyebrow. All of them, in fact. Of course, they knew that Naruto was getting beaten. He was getting abused. However, Naruto said that he didn't have any dislikes, which kinda made it obvious that he liked it. He didn't really like it. However, he accepted it, so it wasn't something he hated. It was something that he was used to. Just like waking up in the morning and going to school. You hate it, but in the end, you start getting used to it. You just have to do what you have to do and get it over with. Get it done and over with. Anyways, Naruto then went on to state his dream. His dream was to end his own existence. Of course, this made Satsuki and Kakashi flinch a lot, pretty much. More than the other three, which flinched as well. However, the two really were heartbroken, as Naruto had never given up on trying to end himself. Anyways, Kakashi then explained that tomorrow they will have a test and not to eat. However, Satsuki and Naruto knew what the test was going to be about and had a sneaking suspicion that they didn't have to do it. Of course, Kakashi knew that their teamwork was pretty much like him and Guy's, but there was a slight twist to this test. Anyways, Naruto was heading home, as Satsuki felt bad for not being there when Naruto needed her. Anyways, Naruto walked into his home, as Satsuki wanted to walk in too. However, she couldn't. She instead waited outside. She then heard a few metallic objects hitting the ground. Naruto got out his pouch full of kunais and shurikens, pretty much putting them down. Well, the right word. 1 second. Pretty much letting them hit the ground. He just emptied his bag full of kunais and shurikens. Naruto looked at one. He found one, a perfect one. He then picked it up, which made a pretty sharp sound, which was like a sword being unsheathed. I'm pretty sure that's how you do it. That's how you say it. Satsuki, of course, pretty much using chakra on her ears to be able to hear more. She heard this, and as she got worried, she walked in without permission. She was worried for her friend. She was worried for the only person that she truly loved. At this point, Satsuki was frantic. She started running into the room. As Naruto didn't hear her, Naruto cut his wrist. And as Satsuki walked in, Naruto realized she was there. Naruto then tried to make up an excuse, pretty much stuttering, saying, Satsuki, it's not what you think it is. I dropped my kunais and, I cut myself. Of course, Satsuki not believing a single word that came out of his mouth. She started walking towards him, tears in her eyes, her Sharingan activated. Her 3 Tomoe Sharingan. Naruto knew that she didn't have a 3 Tomoe Sharingan, she only had the 2, realizing that this pained her a lot more than Naruto could realize. Satsuki then took the kunai out of Naruto's hand, seeing the blood on it. Then she cut her own. Naruto then, shocked, looking at her with a shocked expression, asked why. Satsuki then says, if you ever try that again, I promise I'll end my existence with you. Naruto then pretty much stayed silent for a while until Satsuki stood up again and got bandages. As she bandaged Naruto's first, Naruto said to do hers first, of course. However, Satsuki wasn't listening to him anymore. At this point, Naruto was pretty much, I wouldn't say clueless, what's the word? He was powerless, there we go. Satsuki was dominant compared to him. He was more of an introvert, and he didn't like being the leader. In fact, he would much rather be the side character that would die. In a shonen, of course, the one side character that dies when the main villain is powering up. Anyways, Naruto then looked at Satsuki. Satsuki, with a pained look, just looks at Naruto and hugs him. Of course, Naruto then bandaging her wound up, promises that he will try his best and not doing it again. Of course, Satsuki says that trying is not the right word. Fully stopping is the right phrase to use. Of course, Naruto chuckled at that and just hugged her back. Anyways, now, the next day, Naruto woke up. He ate, of course. Satsuki actually staying over at his place, of course, made sure that he ate, as Naruto would often skip meals, and she knew that perfectly. Of course, when he walked past Ichiraku Ramen, Ayame would make sure that he ate at least 3 bowls of ramen. Of course, this wasn't always, but once or twice a week. 3 times, if it's a lucky week. Of course, Naruto and Satsuki went pretty late, making all 3 of the other teammates pretty angry. Minato realized that Kakashi wasn't talking to him as much as he did when Naruto was 2. Of course, when Naruto was 2, he didn't receive all the beatings. In fact, he was treated equally. But then the prophecy came in, and then not only Naruto was forgotten, but also Kakashi was distant. He wanted his Kakashi to teach his own signature move to his children. However, when he asked, Kakashi just glared at him and said, "I'm sorry, Hokage. Full Hokage, Lord Hokage. Sorry, I cannot do that. Because they're not my students, they're your children. And I don't want to interfere with their training, as they might like my move more than yours. Anyways, I shall be going." Of course, Kakashi made up a pretty bad excuse, no explaining himself, but he realized that it was Naruto. Of course, he glared at the family photo of them, and realizing that Naruto was actually in it. However, he was in a corner. He looked a bit closer to it, and he realized that Naruto's eyes and hair were different. He remembered Naruto always smiling, but in this photo, he's seen something different. He's seen a different side of Naruto. He's seen the suicidal Naruto. In Naruto's eyes, he could see the pain, despair, sorrow, and the will. He couldn't see the will of fire that every shinobi is taught. at the academy. And yeah, of course the Hokage gives the speech of it, especially the third, who took on the will of fire of both the first and second Hokage, and Minato taking the fourth. However, that will of fire disappeared from Naruto. Anyways, he realized that he did something wrong, but he couldn't understand where he went wrong. He saw that Naruto's hair color changed. As he went home that night, he talked to Kushina. Kushina even asked, "Who's Naruto?" Minato's eyes widened and he said, "Our son." Minato then realized who he was talking about, and she said, "Oh, him. I'm pretty sure he's in the attic. Let's go see him." Of course, Kushina not even mentioning his name, they went up to the attic and realized that it was empty. They saw nothing, only a blanket, bloody bandages, and pretty much kunais with bloodstains on them. Very old bloodstains. In fact, it smelled so bad that they thought there was a dead body in there. Of course, this was all Naruto's blood. Naruto already started self-harming a long time ago. They just now realized, however, they just went back to sleep, thinking that he had returned. Of course, Team 7. This was during the day Team 7 first met Kakashi. I wouldn't say first, since two of them already knew who Kakashi was anyways. Now, Naruto and Team 7 meeting up the next day. Of course, Minato actually asking about Naruto, their younger brother, to the two siblings, which then they pretty much flinched a bit, realizing that their parents are finally understanding who their finally realizing that they had a brother in the first place. They just said that he was a nuisance, the dead last. Of course, Minato knew this much at least, knowing that his son was a failure. At first, he thought maybe he should train him, but then he realized that he needs to focus more on the other two, since they're just now learning how to add a chakra release to their Rasengan, something Naruto has already been able to do, and transform the Rasengan into a different type of it. Anyways, of course, they did do their morning training before going out, as they did, and waited for Kakashi. Waited and waited until Kakashi appeared with the other two. Of course, the other two arrived a bit earlier, 10 minutes in fact, and the team knew. However, the Naruto and Satsuki went up on a tree and waited as they chatted a bit, whispering in fact, so the other three couldn't hear them. Anyways, Naruto and Satsuki were really close. In fact, they were pretty much family to each other. Anyways, they were talking about how to get stronger, how they were going to fight Kakashi, as Kakashi wasn't going to hold back now that there are 5 of them, not only 2 of them. And Naruto told Satsuki that Kakashi would have to try a bit harder, since these two, the Menma and Naruto, were trained by the fourth Hokage. Satsuki, realizing that Naruto mentioned the fourth Hokage as the fourth Hokage and not as his father. Realizing this, she said, "Don't you consider him your father anymore?" Of course, Naruto never really talks about his family, so-called family, and she knew that he was the child of Minato. Of course, Naruto said, "Father, if he was a true father, I don't think I'd be in this situation, trying to kill myself, trying to stop self-harming. Pretty much the only family I have is you guys," he says with a small tear falling down his eye. Of course, Satsuki just wipes it away and licks her finger, of course making Naruto blush a bit. Naruto realizing that he had feelings for Satsuki, however he didn't want to show them. Of course, Satsuki being a bit clueless of what happened, she just thought it was a normal reaction of a guy. And anyways, now Kakashi appeared and the bell test began. He explained it, there were 4 bells. Naruto and Satsuki had a slight suspicion that they would have to do the bell test for the other 3, holding a bell each. However, they were wrong. They would have to do it themselves. Kakashi, realizing that Naruto and Satsuki were prodigies, trained a bit harder, of course, not wanting to be left behind in a few years. He realized that these two were going to be great shinobis. No matter how much he trained, they were going to become stronger than him, greater than him, and have more feats than him. However, he wanted to somehow keep up and keep a good image of himself, at least to them two. That's all he wanted. He wanted the two little siblings of his to always admire him, no matter how strong they are. And of course, Naruto and Satsuki already do. They do not look down upon Kakashi. In fact, Kakashi replaced Itachi for Satsuki and replaced the missing family that Naruto always wanted. Anyways, now the bell test began. Naruto and Satsuki worked together to get a bell, and in fact, they got a bell each by working together. It was pretty easy. Their teamwork was on point. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, even genjutsu. Of course, the genjutsu wasn't too strong. However, Naruto was already on the offensive as soon as Kakashi broke out of the genjutsu. The fight went a bit like this. Satsuki went in first, as the taijutsu was on par with Naruto, maybe a bit weaker than Naruto physically. However, their skill was on par, on the same level, I would say. Anyways, Satsuki and Kakashi went at it for a few seconds until Kakashi took the upper hand, realizing that if he for any longer, Naruto would come out and the fight would become a bit harder on him. And he didn't want to do this because he wanted to read his book. Anyways, he was about to take out Satsuki and make it so that she couldn't fight anymore. However, Naruto enacted his plan, which he created with just Satsuki. He didn't really care about the other three. They could create a plan on their own, since they are friends after all. And the two children of the Hokage realized that this is a test of teamwork. After all, they are the great Hokage's children, as they are hailed as heroes by the whole entire village, while Naruto is beaten on a daily basis, to the verge of death, and the only thing keeping him alive is him wanting to make his new family, his true family, happy. Anyways, Naruto came in with a Rasengan, which no one was expecting other than Satsuki and Kakashi. Of course, the other two Genin were completely baffled, and Kakashi actually countered with his own, creating a pretty big explosion, which then was overwhelmed or engulfed by a massive fireball. Kakashi had to create a mud wall to actually block the fireball. However, the fireball did a lot of damage to the mud wall, making it a lot weaker. Naruto using chakra putting chakra to his fist and creating a sharp blow to the mud wall, destroying it. And now, Naruto and Satsuki went at him again. Naruto actually using a few power blows, same as Satsuki, which kinda hurt Kakashi. However, in the end, he was able to actually escape by substituting himself with kunais, not a log of wood. Kunais, yes, indeed kunais, which were connected with wires. Of course, we know this wire. It was used by Sasuke in the Chunin exams against Orochimaru, I believe. And anyways, Kakashi pulled the kunais towards them. They realized that this was... not kunais, shuriken, sorry. Of course, they realized that this was going to hurt. And so, they embraced themselves. Well, Satsuki did. Until Naruto said, "It's fine, Satsuki. Just don't worry. These are fakes." As the one past them, of course, this was a genjutsu, which Naruto just screamed, "Kai, release." Of course, the genjutsu was released. Kakashi was too much of a softie to ever hurt his two little siblings. Naruto knew that perfectly, and already knew he was in a genjutsu. Kakashi was very impressed that Naruto realized within seconds. But this wasn't all that made him impressed. Naruto was already in front of him, using speeds unimaginable of a genin. He kicked Kakashi in the stomach. Kakashi didn't have the time to substitute himself. Then Naruto did a few hand signs at Jonin level speeds, and then said water style, water dragon jutsu. There was no water in the vicinity, however, he still created a massive water dragon, much larger than what Kakashi could do, unless he was using a lot more chakra. But Naruto was using what he would call an average amount of chakra, which is pretty much 2 to 3 times more than a normal Jonin because of that amount of chakra he has since being an Uzumaki and having most of the Nantos inside of him. And anyways, his chakra pool was close, near to infinite, and pretty much could never run out. Naruto created this water dragon as he was heading to Kakashi. Kakashi knew that he had to somehow block it or neutralize it, otherwise his bells would be taken away by Satsuki. Then Kakashi did a few hand signs and pretty much Shenron appeared behind him. No, I'm joking, not Shenron, but a dragon, a pretty long dragon of lightning. It looked like the Kirin, but more like Shenron, I would say. Then Kakashi said, "Now." he said now, as the two dragons collided, the lightning one winning, being much stronger than water. And anyways, he was heading right towards Naruto. Naruto just smiled and said, "Unfortunately for you, I guess we won." Naruto then pretty much pukes away right before the dragon could hit him. Of course, Kakashi made it so that the dragon already started to pretty much disappear, as only lightning would catch Naruto and paralyze him. It wouldn't hurt Naruto, it would only paralyze him for a few seconds. However, Naruto was now behind him with a bell, same as Satsuki. Kakashi realized that all this commotion was enough for Satsuki and Naruto to for Naruto to substitute himself with a clone, to take the bell fast and swiftly, while Satsuki had the speeds to take the bell easily, especially with the Sharingan activated. She turned off her Sharingan, or deactivated it, and Kakashi gave them an nice smile. Kakashi still hadn't used his Sharingan, and was able to create such a big dragon. This was thanks to all the training that he did with Naruto. He realized that Naruto would take over him, same as Satsuki, and so he trained even harder than he has ever done in his life. In fact, he made more progress just by training with them than he ever did with Minato. Anywho, now, of course, Naruto and Satsuki went off as the bell rang, and of course 3 of them were put on the pole. Naruto and Satsuki were eating until Naruto realized that if he didn't give his food, they would actually fail, and Naruto knew that the Hokage would do anything for his children, and so he was like, "You damn idiots. If only you had listened to my clone." Of course, Naruto did tell them about the test. Sakura was more, she was gonna cooperate until Menma said, "Shut up, dope, you're just lying," and then dispelled the clone, dispatched it, with a Rasengan of his own. He was more irritated that Naruto actually knew the Rasengan in the first place. Anyways, Menma scoffed as he declined the food, as Satsuki then gave him a glare and said, "You should take the food, otherwise you will fail the next time you do the test. Kakashi sensei is being nice to us and giving us another chance." Sakura then replying, "But he said he'll disqualify if you give us food." Satsuki then sighed, and Naruto actually answered the question, saying, "If you guys were on an empty stomach and you would fight him, there was no way in hell you'd take a bell. We actually ate before coming, so we knew. We were full of energy, unlike you guys who were tired, but still didn't even make the effort to even come out of the bushes. Anyways, eat up." As he says that, he actually unties them from the pole. They eat, and of course Kakashi poofs in front of them, saying pretty much with a smile, but still he made it seem like he was angry. He said that "you all," and pretty much in the end, 3 of them, the other 3 other than Naruto and Satsuki, thought that they failed. But then Kakashi just said, "You pass." And anyways, he poofs away, and Naruto and Satsuki start walking away. Menman and Naruto, even Sakura, knew that Naruto and Satsuki knew about this, that they would pass if they actually gave their food. Of course, Kakashi actually poofs back and says, "Wait, I forgot to say something," and of course gives his famous speech of, "If in the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their comrades are even worse than scum," and then poofs away again. Of course, Naruto and Sasuke just chuckle as they heard that way too much, realizing that this wasn't even his quote, it was from his friend, as they were told by Kakashi himself that he had a friend called Obito Uchiha, and that was the reason he had the Sharingan in the first place. He was very saddened by his friend's death. However, in the end, he had to get over it, which he still hadn't. In fact, he mourns him and Rin to this day, and he for sure knows that they would be disappointed too at Minato. Naruto then started walking away, and towards his apartment, Satsuki following along, saying that they should spar a bit. Naruto saying, not today, I'm a bit tired, and plus, I'm going to go train in a bit after with you." Satsuki asks why if he was tired, then Naruto just smirks, actually giving a cheeky smile, saying that he wants to do the same jutsu that Kakashi did. Of course, seeing the hand signs, Satsuki realized that Naruto must have already memorized and knows how to do it, and wants to try it out. Satsuki then made him promise that he would teach her too. So Naruto just nodded, and they went off. Of course, now we go to Kakashi, who poofs in the meeting. Of course, he was late, as Kuronai actually kind of chewed him up about it. Not chewed him up. She was more like a Sakura, and she said, "Why was he late?" And Kakashi said that their team nearly failed, other than two of them, but in the end they passed. Of course, this shocked them, as they knew that they had Naruto Uzumaki, that they had lost Satsuki Uchiha, the one who can't socialize with anyone, and the Hokage's children, and Sakura Haruno, a civilian. Of course, they thought that the Hokage's children would pass straight away, and that's what that's what everyone thought. However, anyways, of course, then Kakashi broke the news to the Hokage, saying that his children actually failed at first, and the only reason they passed is that two other Genin realized the true meaning of the test, and they all asked who it was. Some thinking that it would be Satsuki and Sakura, since they were pretty much the top two in the year, other than the Hokage's children, who were actually third and fourth. Anyways, then Kakashi said Naruto was Naruto and Satsuki Uchiha. Of course, the Hokage raised an eyebrow, saying, "Naruto what?" And Kakashi then actually just gave him an ass mouth, saying, "Naruto, just Naruto." Of course, lowering his voice a bit, deepening it, and putting some venom into his voice as he pronounces just Naruto. And anyways, the Hokage kind of flinched at his old student's attitude towards him. At first he was saddened by this, but then he asked what happened. As he explained, he was actually very impressed by Naruto, who was able to create an actual water dragon on his own with no water being near. This kind of reminded everyone of the second Hokage. And then Kuronai asked, "Did the demon brat really do that?" And then Kakashi glared at her, giving her the scariest death that she's seen in a long while. And this was one of her comrades giving it. Of course, Kakashi then guided and said, Now, my rival, calm down. I'm sure Naruto is a very talented boy, but many have read his report from the academy, and of course they thought that he'd be truly the dead last." Of course, Kakashi just sighed and says, "That damn Naruto, if only he would show his true potential other than hiding it. After all, he hides all that pain behind that mask." Of course, as he says that, he starts walking away with the guy by his side, as he challenges him again. Of course, Minato asked, "What mask? Naruto was a mask?" As he realizes that he knows absolutely nothing about Naruto. Then, later that night, Minato arrives home to realize that his two children were celebrating with their mother about passing. Minato walks in and asks, well, was Naruto? Of course, Kushina looks at him worriedly and asks, are you okay, honey? Minato says, where's Naruto? A bit angry at this point, realizing that not only he forgot, but his own family forgot. Of course, Kushina Kando flinched and asked, what do you mean? Naruto never comes down. He's always in his attic, remembering that night when they checked. Naruto wasn't home. She realized that there must be something going on. Why isn't Naruto coming home? She hasn't seen him in months, she realizes. Of course, Minato says, whatever. Anyways, I'm glad that you all passed. Of course, being ignorant to their mistakes, they just blow off Naruto like it was nothing but dust. Anyways, Naruto was found at the training grounds. The training grounds were pretty much destroyed as Naruto and Satsuki mastered the technique that Kakashi showed them. Of course, Kakashi actually arrived and said, damn, I guess you mastered it already. The two looking at Kakashi, Naruto of course having his shirt ripped, as one of Satsuki's one hit him as she lost control. Kakashi saw all the scars on Naruto, especially his wrists, his arms, and also his torso. Of course, the torso was mostly from the village's scars remaining from the stabs, but his arms and wrists, he knew too well about what they were, as he went through a phase like that. Kakashi hugged Naruto and Satsuki, keeping them close, telling Naruto to never do those things again, otherwise he himself will come down with him. He will go to hell with him. Oh heaven, he doesn't truly know. Or maybe he'll just go underground and there might not be anything afterwards. Of course, he truly didn't know. And he wasn't anyone to really make assumptions of the afterlife. And anyway, now, of course, the three actually went to Ichiraku Ramen and they found Iruka there. Iruka was actually waiting because he himself made Kakashi actually go and find Naruto and Satsuki, as Ichiraku Ramen actually closed for that night early because that was their little family, the family of Naruto, the family that Naruto could truly smile around with, genuinely. As on the other side of the village we see another family, a pretty ignorant family, celebrating, as Sakura wasn't really celebrating but in fact thinking on why Naruto was so distant from his siblings. She thought maybe she should ask him, and so she made sure to remember the next day. And anyways, now we skip to the next day. Naruto and Satsuki arrive to the meeting place together. As always, Sakura asks if they're going out at this point. Naruto then just says, well, I wish, but she's already out of my league. Of course, Satsuki just punches him in the head and asks, why'd you do that? And anyways, Satsuki then looks away and says, whatever. Now, where's Kakashi sensei? As they say, well, of course, Naruto says, maybe we came a bit too early. And anyways, of course, Satsuki nods. And anywho, Sakura then asks Naruto why he's so distant from his two other siblings. Naruto then pretty much froze, as he truly didn't want to answer. Satsuki then just says, Naruto doesn't want to answer, so I don't think you deserve to know, as he doesn't want to tell you. Sakura then kind of frowned and said that she was his teammate. She was his friend, right? Then Satsuki glared at her, saying, if you were truly his friend, why were you the one laughing at him back in the days of the academy? Why were you the one distancing herself from him? Of course, Sakura has changed from the first few years of the academy, as she thought that what her parents said was true. Naruto was a demon. However, just the other day, she saw Naruto's true personality, one who actually cares. And anyways, Of course, she apologizes for that, and Naruto then just says, well, I don't get close to them as they don't want me to be close to them, so I don't see a reason of why I should be close to them. Sakura understands and looks back at her two other teammates who just didn't care at this point. They really didn't. And anyways, they just bark at them pretty much. And anyways, Naruto says mutts. As he says that, a pretty, a quarrel begins, an outbreak. Kakashi was pretty late anyways, so they might as well just do something productive. Fight. Of course, they went to the training grounds as Menma and Naruto challenged Naruto. Naruto didn't want to take this challenge, but then Satsuki says that she'll fight them. And anyways, Satsuki was very overprotective about Naruto. In fact, she'd even kill to protect Naruto, even if he was a villager. And anyways, now Satsuki stood in front of them as they both formed their Sengun. They're charging at Satsuki. Satsuki then just pulled out a shuriken, not shuriken, a kunai, two kunais in fact, slicing both of the Rasenguns, making them explode as she did. Of course, she instantly teleported away, body flickered away from the explosion, so she wouldn't be caught in it. The two teammates were pretty much, Naruto and Menma were in the explosion, and they took the blow pretty hard. They were kind of bleeding, their hands were bruised, and anyways, they screamed at her, and of course, Menma threw a shuriken, and pretty much said, this is, I should not be using this. As he says that, a black flash appears pretty much, because his hair is actually black. And anyways, don't ask, I just made it black because Menma in the movie had black hair. I know in the end it turned yellow, but I don't really care. And anyways, but whatever. Anywho, of course, he appeared behind Satsuki with another Rasengan, but this time he added lightning release to it. His lightning release Rasengan was a bit different. It was a bit like the Chidori, something that Minato realized the basics of it, and so Naruto realized that this is a Chidori and Rasengan variation. Naruto didn't like this, as Menma was about to smash it into Satsuki, who couldn't react fast enough. Menma had a lot of chakra, like a lot, and so even by using this a lot of chakra while using the flying Raijin, because it was in an imperfect jutsu for him, he still didn't know how to use it perfectly. Of course, Naruto came in the way, being faster than even his brother's flying Raijin. He then came in with his own Rasengan and pretty much smashed it into Menma's. Menma thought that he would win this one, however Naruto pretty much pushed him away. Naruto then came out of nowhere with her sword and pretty much using her Kenjutsu technique as she learned from her mother. She added fire and lightning release to it, which then she was about to slice Naruto until, basically, Kakashi appears. Kakashi then puts a kunai right in front of the sword and says, whoa, let's calm down everyone. We've had enough, right? Of course, Naruto was about to get serious as he was about to pull out a scroll with the sword that he uses, an Anbu sword. However, he puts her away as Kakashi sweat drops. He realizes that if Naruto truly got out his sword, that meant, if Naruto got out his sword in the first place, it meant that Naruto was about to get serious, as Satsuki was one of the closest people to him, and he'd do anything to protect her, and even him, even though Kakashi can protect himself on his own. Pretty much anyone other than Ayame, Teuchi, and Iruka. Of course, Naruto was gonna get stronger over time, but he was already pretty much Jonin level at this point. And anyways, same as Satsuki, of course, they could take on any Chunin at this rate, but the experience was lacking quite a lot. And anyways, the team calmed down and they apologized to each other than Naruto. Naruto really didn't do anything bad other than blow away Menma, and of course, letting out a bit of killer intent as he was about to pull out his sword. However, now Team 7 went to the Hokage's office. The Hokage was worried why they were even later than usual. Of course, Kakashi explained that there was a little fight between his team, And anyways, Menma just looked away as Naruto explained what happened. She said, twisting the facts, pretty much saying that they provoked them and they said that they were weak and challenged them, and in the end, this happened. But then Naruto was about to, protest. However, he was stopped as Sakura, who was just a bystander, stood up for the other two, Naruto and Satsuki, as I'm talking about them. She stood up for them, saying that that's a lie. They're the ones who were pretty much bad mouthing, well, not bad mouthing. They pretty much challenged Naruto, which Naruto didn't accept. But then Satsuki accepted the challenge, and pretty much was taking them on as Menma then used the technique of the fourth, to blitz her. However, Naruto came in to protect her, and then Naruto came in with her sword using both fire and lightning release on it, and she was about to slash Naruto in the torso. But then Naruto pretty much, Kakashi appeared as Naruto pulled out a scroll, which no one knew what he held other than two people, Kakashi and Satsuki. Anyways, of course, the Hokage was very impressed that Naruto was even able to counter or pretty much react to the Flying Raijin, as it is a technique that helped him pretty much stop the whole entire Third Ninja War on his own single-handedly. But we all know that even Fugaku was a pretty strong shinobi, as he was able to take out 1,000 shinobi with just genjutsu, not even a technique, like not even ninjutsu. Like, that's mad, like Fugaku is so underrated. But anyways, that's where I'm gonna end off. Hope you all enjoyed it. Please take care, stay safe. This was the King of Weebs, and I stopped blabbering about my own life and going off topic as well as I could. Of course, right at the end a bit, I said that Fugaku was like underrated. But anyways, hope you enjoyed it. Please take care, stay safe. This was the King of Weebs. Don't forget to subscribe to Ratreet, Miniman123, also my friend Hxmesh, and the second channel, DB Lover. And don't forget to get your good quality anime match for Beautiful Halo. 5% off on your next $49 plus order with the code MEME, MEME, and 10% off with the code MEMES, MEMES, only on your next $99 plus order. And don't forget to get your good quality lamps from lampt.com and use the code, the promo code LAMPT the King of Weebs, LAMPT with spelled capital L, then lowercase AMPTEE the King of Weebs, just how it's spelled on YouTube, all capitalized except for O and F. Anyways, my darklings are dismissed, and I shall take my leave. Peace.